Continuing Louisiana versus all y'all's trips around the state of Louisiana, preparing for this upcoming high school football season, kind of looking at the regions and what to expect from top teams all over the state of Louisiana. Out in the 337 now, the Lafayette, Acadiana area with KATC's Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, talking about what's going on out there with some top teams, and there have been some fantastic ones. Traditionally and in recent years, and we'll hit from 5A on down to 1A. Jamarcus, the season's fast approaching. How we feeling overall? Just kind of getting ready for it all.
Yeah, man, it's always busy when you're getting things prepared for the upcoming season and things like that. So there seems to be a vibe of a lot of guys that are saying like championship or bust, or they're confident in the things that they can be able to do for their programs and that they want to make a name for themselves. I'm actually working on a preview right now talking about Westgate, one of the teams in 4A, and it's been almost 3 years now since they last won their state championship. And they were saying, just like this is the year that they want to get it done because they want to leave things better than they found it. They came in this senior class, were freshmen, and they won a state championship when it was against Easton. So now they want to close out their high school careers as champions as well. So when you look at just all of those things, you're previewing all these different teams and stuff like that. Everybody has those championship aspirations, but you can really tell the teams that are truly believing it and they're implementing it into their programs.
Yeah, and we'll hear, I guess, in more detail as we go down through, because it's big schools, it's small schools, it's everybody in
Mhm.
between that fits into that boat. And starting with that 5A group, District 3-5A, that kind of stretches across the 337. I talked to Chasten Tavares from out in Lake Charles about his three, but you have the heavy hitters in your backyard there with Acadiana, who was back in the dome last year, Karen Crow, Lafayette High, New Iberia, and Southside. And that has been such a fun district, particularly for the Lafayette area teams in recent years. When you look at what 2024 may hold from the Wrecking Rams on through the group, what are you watching from that district?
Yeah, of course, Acadiana had one of the most, I guess, unprecedented type of runs to get to the Superdome. They had to go to New Orleans on three separate occasions, of course, also in the championship game. But them having to, do that, it built up a level of resiliency for those guys. And, they want to right their wrongs. They played against a very talented Catholic team in that championship game, and they just want to, get things back correct. They want to go back to the Superdome and they want to finish what they started. They've got Caden Dibetta coming back. They've got guys like Russell Babineau, and so many others. That's a very experienced team, and they feel like because they are so experienced, it's not a whole lot of install. It's not a whole lot of trying to set up a new scheme or anything like that. It's really just a refresher. You're coming in and you already have something built, and you're trying to get your guys going very early on. But then you also, like you said, you have a team in Karen Crow where Tony Corville was the head coach last season. He's now retired. You have Gavin Peters to step in, who's been on the staff for years. And so it's going to be a lot of the same things that we've seen. A very talented program, a very talented team, great guys there with a rich tradition, a championship tradition as well. But then you have, teams in there. Southside has a new head coach in Jess Curtis, who has a, long history of winning from his time when he was back at Manny High School. So he comes here to make a new challenge and try to continue to ascend that Southside program. I think it was 2 seasons ago they won District 3-5A when they knocked off, I think, Karen Crow and Acadiana in both of those games that season. So they're not going to be any slight to anybody. So that will, probably be those three main teams in the mix that are, near the top that are making the most noise. You also have a team in Nish that's, trying to get their program steered in the right direction under Josh Learman. They have a running back in Shanga Charles, who was all district running back, and he said that he kind of compared himself to Marshawn Lynch in the way that he plays. So it'll be interesting to see, what that district will be able to turn out to be. But I'm ultimately looking for, teams like Acadiana, Karen Crow, and Southside to really stand out and get things rolling for the year.
And we don't have to spend a ton of time on this, but you mentioned the two coaching changes with Gavin Peters taking over at Karen Crow and some of the, I guess, the continuity that comes there because of his experience there with the kids and then with him and all of those things. Jess comes south for the first time all the way down to South Side. What does that transition look like? I guess he comes with obviously a huge track record to him. You expect Southside to be, in that top of the district mix right off the bat, with the new coaching staff there, or is it going to be any sort of a growing pains type transition? I know they don't want that either way,
Yeah.
but what's kind of your outlook for what that transition looks like?
Yeah, I think just with just his mentality, that's gonna rub off on the kids. You know, a winner's mentality is very, uh, something that people want to latch themselves to. They want to attach themselves to winners. So when they see that there is a proven winner as their leader, they're gonna want to play hard for him. They're gonna want to, go out there and score more touchdowns, get more turnovers and things of that nature, to make sure that they are in the playoff picture and maybe even making a deep playoff run. I think that him coming in, it's definitely going to be an opportunity for him to kind of cement himself in three different places. Doing it at a small school like Manny, going up to Acadiana Central, and then now trying to do it here at Southside.
You mentioned when we were starting out Westgate as one of the examples of a team that feels like they need to get it done this year. And so as we kind of transition to 4A, I don't know that there's been a better area of the state for 4A football in recent years than Lafayette and Acadiana area. When you look at all of the teams last year in the state championship games are all 337 area teams, and this
Yeah.
year looking at the primary districts, 4A has OC Como, North Vermilion, Northside Range, St. Thomas More, obviously a back-to-back state champion, Turlings Catholic, that Westgate squad that you mentioned, that is always as tough as anyone in the state. And then 4A, you have Beauchene, Brobridge, Cecilia, and Opelousas, the two teams that met on the non-select side, and they have Livonia in that district with them. And then also in 4A, a little bit toward the further out edge of y'all's coverage area, Eunice out there, but particularly 4A and 5A and all these teams that were just in the dome last year or have been in the dome in recent years. It seems from the outside like it's going to be another real exciting year of 4A football in Lafayette.
It absolutely is. Teams like Opelousas and Cecilia, I mean, they went at it in the Superdome, and they're going to be fighting to get back there. Talking to, Jimmy Zachary in the preseason early on, he said that, the main thing that they want to do is run it back. Like everybody talks about doing that after you win a championship, but you can really sense and feel that these guys believe that they can do it, and they have a ton of talent to be able to do it. You talk about Zacchaeus Malvo being their starting quarterback. He was the MVP of the championship game. He's a guy that he can make all the throws when you need him to, but when you got a running back like Deshaun Ford in the backfield, sometimes you don't have to do that all the time. But he can make plays for them. And then Corey Amos and Landon Hammond and all those guys that they have on defense, Jonathan Ford, those guys that they have on defense to be able to stop teams as well. And then you can't forget that Cecilia is returning great talent over there as well with Diesel Solari, Brent Gordon, and so many others to lead the charge for them as well.
Yeah, the Cecilia and Opelousas 2025 classes that have been for years now so great for those programs are now finally seniors after both making historic runs last year as juniors, and so it'll be really interesting to see how they fare this year in their kind of swan song of high school before a lot of these guys go off and play college ball. In that District 4A, STM, we didn't mention STM a ton just now, and I feel like that's been kind of a vibe with them this offseason, is that as great as they've been a little bit under the radar this offseason, I guess, because of all of the turnover of graduating that great senior class that they just graduated. What is your feel for the Cougars? Because as much as sure they have guys now, off to college and whatnot, they have done as good of a job of reloading every year as maybe anybody around the state.
Yeah, I mean, a Jim Hightower led football team is always going to be, a strong football team. So I don't think that them having much turnover is going to affect them very much. I think that they have the ability to still go out there and win plenty of football games because they're going to be disciplined. They're going to have alignment and assignment, and they're going to line up and they're going to play you for 4 quarters. It is to be seen what they're going to do at the quarterback position, and things like that. But I think that this is still going to be a very good ball club.
In 3A, you've got a couple of districts to keep an eye on as well. The group out, more toward the west side and northwest, and literally the school northwest in that district. Church Point, who's obviously been a team through the years that has been traditionally really steady. Crowley, Iota, Mamu, Northwest that had that great Cinderella run in last year's playoffs. Pine Prairie and Ville Platte are in 4-3A, and then 5-3A you have the group with Abbeville, St. Martinville, Kaplan, Erath, and Acadiana Renaissance on the way. But right now, those 4 teams playing for varsity honors. What's the landscape of 3A in the area, particularly if Northwest can follow up that great run they had last year, and what you expect from that consistently competitive trio of Abbeville, St. Martinville, and Kaplan. And I mean, Erath, I say trio, but I like a lot of what Erath has as well.
Yeah, that Vermilion Parish group, has a lot of great guys. Obviously, you have Roderick Moore moving from Abbeville over to North Vermilion. You have, Abbeville having, a new head coach as well. So it'll be interesting to see what he's going to be able to do for that team. Erath coming off of a 2-8 season, they're going to want to right their wrongs. And I think they have some guys back over there that are going to be able to, make something happen for them. I think there's just a lot of wide open, scenarios in there. Kaplan has Tank Latif coming back, and he's going to probably implement that wing T offense where, they're going to ground and pound things and keep the ball away from you and play great defense. So I think that 3A is going to be wide open. And then, like you said, with Northwest, them going on that Cinderella run, now there isn't not necessarily, thinking that they can win. There's a belief that they can actually do it. And now it's just about going back out there and putting out a product that they can be proud of again.
And again, two districts to watch in 2A. You guys have a lot of schools in y'all's coverage area, keep y'all busy on Friday nights. In 6-2A, Lafayette Christian back down in 2A with Lafayette Renaissance, and that's going to be an awful lot of familiarity between those two programs for a lot of reasons. And they have Lake Arthur, Notre Dame, and Welsh together in that 6-2A, and then a little bit further down, 7-2A, Catholic New Iberia and company, stretching on down to the Bayou region with Catholic New Iberia, Delcom, Franklin, Houma Christian, Lauraville, West St. Mary. We talked a little bit about LCA already leaving that 4A district, but are they the team to beat back in 2A? Or, I mean, them and Notre Dame could be potentially really interesting rejoining district together, and then Catholic New Iberia, Lauraville, kind of as keys for you in that 7-2A district. What do you see from some of those teams?
Yeah, for sure, man. I think one of the things that we're kind of interested to see is what is LCA going to be able to do? Now having a different head coach than Zach Lockhart, he's expecting it to be, the same standard, trying to maintain the standard that they've kept, always being in the championship conversation, always, being a team that, people want to put on their schedule to really have as a measuring stick. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that we're looking forward to see. I think that you're not gonna come in Louis Cook's house right away and just be able to take food off of his table. So LCA is gonna have to go out and prove it to him. A Louis Cook led program is always gonna run the football. They're gonna play great defense as well. So I think that is going to be one of the games that we're going to have to keep our eyes on, especially when you're talking about winning district championships, having bragging rights and things of that nature. LCA, I did forget that they are moving back down to 2A. So them coming in there, obviously a lot of those guys have that experience in playing in Class 4A games. But for them to be able to show up here in this district as well, you can't overlook it, the Welsh Greyhounds as well, because they have experience and they are teams that have won historically in the past few years under Ronnie Corville, him being a young coach over there. So that district is very interested to see with those 3 teams, Welsh, LCA, and Notre Dame in the mix. And then you talked about it in 7-2A. Lauraville, I think Ascension Episcopal is in that district with them as well, and then Catholic of New Iberia. Jaden Mitchell being an all-state selection there for the Panthers, and what Coach Desimo over there has done has really been able to keep that team in a polished sense and always having them in a conversation of winning district championships. I think that is kind of wide open over there as well. Lauraville has always been a playoff team, and they have a lot of guys back with Kylan Polk and Dylan Singleton and big name guys of that nature. So we should see a really good district race over there as well.
In the LCA Notre Dame Welsh group, we're hearing so much obviously about Lafayette Renaissance and the fact that they're coming and they have put the pieces in place in terms of leadership over there to make us start to believe it. Is this a year that they're already going to be in that mix, you think, or is it going to be more of a building process for them potentially than, I mean, coming out of the gates here already kind of early on and being at that level with the LCAs and Notre Dames and companies?
Yeah, I think it'll be a combination of both. Like those kids will be hungry and chomping at the bit to get out there and prove themselves. But when you start a program from ground zero, you got to continue to build into something and make it, what other programs around this area have been, and it's going to be hard along the way for them to get it going. But I believe over time, then they definitely will be a feasible opponent in the district.
And then in 1A, I mean, have to keep eyes on really three districts with 5 1A has St. Edmunds and one of the
Mhm.
Westminsters up there in Opelousas, along with Opelousas Catholic. It's obviously been a highly ranked playoff team in recent years and a deep district there in 5 1A. 6 1A, the big name of Vermilion Catholic, who was obviously in the Dome a couple of years ago, had the undefeated regular season last year and has been a top 1A school in recent years there. And then out in 7-1A with a lot of Bayou Parish teams. Jeanneret, who had that resurgent year last year, got back to the quarterfinals for the first time since the early 90s. And so I guess looking at some of those teams, probably Opelousas Catholic, Vermilion Catholic, and Jeanneret are kind of the three that people outside the area know most to keep an eye on. But are all of those three teams, I mean, going to be in that mix where you're talking about they expect to be making deep playoff runs yet again? And are there any other kind of sleepers that we need to be watching from the outside too?
Yeah, for sure. I think Westminster as a program, having coach there, that is had experience at the college ranks, and he came in and has implemented things. Byron Porter with the way that he wants things there at that program, and I think they got 5 wins and made it to the playoffs. But he's made it very clear, like we're not just going to be satisfied with that, and we're not going to be focused on just having a few wins. That we want to go much deeper, and we want to continue to build the program and continue to clean things up. Like you mentioned, also with Opelousas Catholic, they have an all-state receiver after switching into more of a wing, no, excuse me, and more of a spread type offense. They have an all-state wide receiver in Roderick Tesano. And I mean, those guys, with what they can do in that receiving core, they're going to be able to put up a lot of points. It's going to be hard for defenses to stop what he is able to do on the roster. And then, like you said, also generate now when you get a winning season under your belt like that, you're able to build belief within the program. I think those guys are continuing to believe. Talking to coach in the preseason as well, he just said that he believes that these guys have gotten a lot stronger and a lot faster, and he believes that they could go out and win some ball games for the program again.
Vermilion Catholic, Dartez a senior now, or he's still a junior? I
Yeah,
feel like he's been playing
yes,
football out there for about a decade now. But
he
what's
has.
for he and the Eagles? I'm sure they're itching to get back to the Dome where they felt like they probably should have been again last year. What's been kind of the latest you've heard from that bunch and kind of where they are in terms of mentality and how they're shaping up as the kickoff of the season approaches in just a few weeks now?
Yeah, Jonathan Dartes is going to lead the way for them once again. I think the main key for them is playing that level of championship defense that we saw when they went back to the Dome. I think they had like 7 shutouts during that season. It may not be exactly like that, but if they can get that style of defense where they're holding teams to very little to no points, that's going to put them in a great position to let Jonathan Dartes go out there and just do what he does all the time, which is run around, scramble with his legs, throw the football, and make plays and get the ball into the hands of his playmakers. And if they can do those things, then this team will find themselves right back in the Superdome like they were a few years ago.
There you go. And shoot, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Superdome here in a few months, and looking forward to seeing you
Yeah,
on some
man.
Friday nights on some of these fields here really soon.
For sure, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you. Again, he's Jamarcus Fitzpatrick from KATC out there in Lafayette, Acadiana area. And for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser.